Hey everyone, I'm back with a recap of the 6th episode of Step by Step, and I want to inform you that there's going to be spoilers, so I recommend you to watch the full episode first, and I also won't really follow the same order of what happened in this episode, so I hope it's not that messy and still a bit coherent. Okay, let's start it. So first of all, there is a new character was being introduced named Kung, and we later found out that he was a senior of Pat when he was studying in America. So Kung asked how Pat was doing for Instagram message, and when we got to see, he wanted to invite him for dinner but failed because he had something to do. But then for a second try, they finally met each other in a fancy restaurant. While talking about the work, Pat knew that Kung is in reality working in a multi-level marketing. It means he sells product through family and friends by recruiting them to do the same thing. And in this case, it was through Pat, but Pat wasn't interested in it, so he was literally fleeing of a restaurant. And thanks to Put's call, Pat lied to him he had to go to work, so he was able to get away from Kung. But the next day, an employee informed Pat that someone wanted to see him, and that was Kung, who dared to show up to his office place to sell some products. He even asked if Ping was there, and Pat was reluctant to say the truth, but he ended up lying, saying no, she was not here, so he saved her from him. And that wasn't the end, because I think due to Pat posting on his Insta story when he was at another restaurant with Put, and Kung went to see him there, so it was a bit creepy. Fortunately, Pat told him firmly that he's really not interested in this work field and that his methods are scary, such as following him from the office work to restaurant. It's like Kung threatens him, and Kung replied to him by saying he didn't think to scare him away, but he thanked him for speaking straightforward to him. Okay, so Pat also said he should change his methods because it's too much, and he shouldn't do this to him and also to other people. So after this, Kung said, okay, I understand, and he won't speak again about this. And I personally hope he's going to stop for real. I feel like introducing such character to Pat was maybe to bring him some elements, such as he might perhaps wanted to become like him, I don't know, because he was checking his Instagram and he saw the guy that had 100 or 200 likes, and even the number of followers was a bit high, but it also made him to be more confident and to defend himself. So they were at the office workplace and they were preparing food, and when Pat tasted the shrimp nuggets made by Kuncheng, he seemed reluctant, but he ended up trying it, and at first it was fine, but right after he seemed not to like it. And while watching him, Kuncheng almost didn't listen to his father and spoke to him on the phone very quickly. So that scene was really funny to see this, so go watch it if you haven't. And I thought Pat might be allergic or something, but it's because he didn't really like the celery, so he spit it out. But I thought that it's kind of a disrespect, a little. So when he came home, he made again his shrimp nuggets, and he even forced his younger brother to taste it. The dedication he had, to be honest, wow, okay. That evening, when Pat was supposed to meet for the first time, Kung had to cancel it because something came up, so Pat ended up to eat with his manager, Kuncheng, and at first, he wanted to go home, but he met Jeng at this time, and Jeng asked him some questions and invited him to eat with him. He also added, it's because he had a promotion, so they gave him another one. But I feel it might be an excuse to eat with him, and after being reluctant a while, Pat agreed, and I feel like it was still awkward and cute, and I also feel this time Pat didn't take a photo of the food and he was simply enjoying eating. Look at his expression, to be honest. Is it just me or he seems really happy there? And the second time we were with each other, or maybe they planned to be with each other, was after discussing some of a project, and when Pat said his back hurt and he had to buy a new chair, Kun Cheng took the opportunity to spend some time with him by asking if he can come home with him, as he also wanted to buy some furniture for his restaurant. So such a day was coming, and I feel like it was kind of a first date because Pat took a while to pick some clothes, and before he arrived in his car, Jeng checked himself out in the mirror. We were shopping and we were playing like kids with fake veggies. It was a bit awkward because the reactions were a bit slow, but it was endearing and funny to watch. And we also had the moment where they stared at each other for a while. So one scene was because Pat didn't find the lever of the chair, so that's why also Kun Cheng was so close to Pat, and he said to him, he asked him if he liked it or not, it meaning if he liked the chair or not. And the other iconic lines, he was Chai, but now he's not. I'm sure this is one of his iconic lines now. And I don't know if Pat intended to do this or not, or he didn't even realize himself because it could melt Kun Cheng's heart. Look at his smile, he's so whipped, okay? Sorry. The next scene is when they came home with the furniture and they cooked together, and when Pat took chef's hat to put it on Kun Cheng's head. That was cute, and they again started at each other. And this scene was like beautiful. I don't know why. I like the color they're using it, or the lighting. I don't know if it's kind of filter or lighting, but it made me think that they film it during the sunset or something like this. And between the chef's hat belongs to his father, to Pat's father, and his father was a chef in America, but I don't know if he's still a chef there because since the first episode he disappeared. And later we also get to see them eating together. It might be somehow awkward, but I'm sure these moments could help them to develop their feelings. I don't really like this, but I probably end up with Pat and Put. So earlier in this episode, when they were working with the two actors, Hood and Chris, Hood took a break and Jane asked him if he wanted to drink something, and what Put said annoyed Pat, because he dared to say to Jane to ask Pat because he knows what he likes to drink. Wow. So when they were alone, Pat asked him what he was playing, since it was his job place, and what the others are going to think of him. But then Put replied by he shouldn't ignore him, and Pat added the fact that he asked for his help didn't mean Put can do this to him, and I agree. The second time it was by a call. Put called him at night, but it was kind of a win situation for him because Pat at that time he wanted to get away from Kong, so he didn't have a choice but to pick up his call, and like this he kind of saved him. And the third time he called Pat again in another evening, and I think it was the same day when Pat was hanging out with Kun Cheng to buy his chair, but he remembered a good time while smiling, and he even looked up at the tiger plushie. And I'm wondering if Kun Cheng had the other tiger, or maybe I'm wrong with this. So Put called him to take him out for dinner, and Pat agreed. I don't know why. That's why he went to a fancy restaurant, and they were all wearing black clothes. It was chic and kind of romantic, and I had to say this because I'm rooting for Kun Cheng, okay? But seriously, they had a talk and Put was really sorry for disappearing at that time. And they began to talk about what really happened between them, but I was still not satisfied. So maybe I have to wait for next episode to know more about it. Okay, so after the small incident with home, Hood and Pat were out together, exchanging some words with each other, and then the main point is that Hood wanted to have another chance with Pat, and it was a bit absurd when he said to Pat that if Pat took a plushy shark, that meant Pat was okay to start over with him, and guess what? He took it, and then it was the end of episode 6. Let me know what did you think of this episode, and if you liked any scene, and if you think that Pat and Put will be together again. Because for the next preview, I wish it was some flashback of a lovey-dovey moment, but Put said he recently finished the shark, and the scene where we saw they were happily playing with it. But what I noticed was Pat seemed to show his big side in front of Kunjeng. Did you see the preview? He was literally crying in his arms due to the criticism of a client, and we know that Pat is quite a sensitive person, so it's not a surprise to see him in this state. Besides, it's true that I nearly forget to mention Jab and Jane, and we get to see their story in the next ep, but I'm not sure if I will do a recap for them. I'm sorry, because I'm already under by Jane and Pat's story. Okay, that's it for today. See you in the next video. Bye bye.